I want a hall pass, she said, standing in our kitchen like she was asking for milk. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a breakdown. It was Tuesday. She wanted to feel alive, and thought cheating would bring her back to life. But I didn't scream. I gave her what she wanted. Then I made sure she would never forget what it cost her. It started with a single sentence. Just 10 words. I want a hall pass. 10 words that shattered 17 years of quiet loyalty. When Caroline said it, her voice didn't tremble. She wasn't crying. She wasn't angry. She wasn't drunk or desperate. She was drying her hands with a dish towel, like asking for a favor, like I might say yes. I remember the color of the tile beneath my feet, the smell of lemon-scented detergent, the buzz of the overhead light, and her face, still beautiful at 41, but tired around the eyes in a way that hadn't been there 2 years ago. We were alone in the kitchen of the house we bought 12 years ago. We had spent a decade turning this place into a home. Hardwood floors I laid myself. A backyard swing set I built for our son. And now, she was asking for a night off. A night off from us. She said it softly, but clearly. She wanted just one night to feel like herself again. I remember blinking, like she'd spoken another language. Caroline, my wife, the woman I took to prom, the girl I drove across the country with in a beat-up Honda Civic. I looked at her and asked, "Who is he?" She didn't answer at first, and that pause, that silence told me everything. Because silence, when you know someone deeply, is an answer. Finally, she said, "There's someone at the gym. His name is Brandon. He makes me feel alive." Alive, as opposed to what? The life we'd built, our home, our son, our traditions. Was that what made her feel dead? I didn't scream. I didn't flip the table. I nodded. "I need to think," I said. Caroline exhaled like I'd agreed. She kissed the top of my head like we were still us, and went upstairs to check on Jason, our 13-year-old son. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay beside her listening to her breathe, and I realized something chilling. She didn't just want a hall pass. She wanted to audition for a life without me. 3 days passed. We danced our routine. Coffee in the morning, packing Jason's lunch, laundry, dinners, bills. And then she brought it up again. "So, have you thought about it?" I nodded. "I want you to be happy," I said. She smiled like I'd handed her a gift. She didn't know I'd already spoken to someone. His name was Richard Kane, private investigator, ex-military, gray mustache, calm eyes. He didn't judge. He just asked, "You sure you want the truth?" I nodded. I wanted all of it. Every detail. Every lie. He followed her that Saturday night. She wore a dress I hadn't seen in years. Perfume I didn't buy. He sent the report Monday morning. Photos. Receipts. Room 611 at the Omni. Brandon, shirt half open, his arm around her waist. Her laugh. Their closeness. Their goodbye kiss the next morning. The part that destroyed me? The smile on her face. I didn't confront her. I made her breakfast the next morning. Eggs, toast, her favorite coffee. She said it was the best sleep she'd had in months. That evening, she curled up beside me. She said she felt like herself again. I nodded. "I'm glad," I whispered. Then I held her and planned my revenge. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I built, brick by emotional brick, I built the structure of my revenge in silence. Quiet, methodical, unshakable. While Caroline hummed in the kitchen and kissed me good night with the satisfaction of someone who'd scratched an itch, I was calculating my next 10 moves. I made her eggs and smiled while I researched divorce attorneys. I took Jason to baseball practice and clapped from the bleachers while I withdrew half our savings and opened private accounts. Every smile I gave her, a carefully placed brick in a wall she didn't know she was walking into. She had no idea she'd already lost me. Because I wasn't angry. Anger is loud. This was silent. Anger fades. This was permanent. Thursday night, she initiated intimacy again. First time in months. Afterward, she laid her head on my chest and whispered, "See, I told you this wouldn't break us." I held her, like you hold a grenade. She fell asleep in minutes. I stayed up until dawn cataloging every corner of our house. What to take, what to leave, what to erase. Friday, I called the locksmith. He came at 10 a.m. sharp. Young guy named Ethan. Looked at me sideways when I said I wanted both locks changed, front and back. Moving out or kicking someone out? He joked. Neither, I said. I'm just finally locking the doors I should have closed years ago. He didn't ask any more questions. By noon, I had 3 sets of new keys and a silence I've been craving for months. Then came the purge. I didn't throw anything. I didn't burn photos or slash clothes. No, I packed her things with care. The same care she didn't give to our marriage. I folded her dresses the way she taught me. Packed her lotions and makeup, the ones she splurged on. Her heels. Her scarves. The lingerie she hadn't worn for me in 2 years. Each item into a black contractor bag. 13 in total. I lined them on the porch like presents. Not for her. For the woman she used to be before she started auditioning for a different life. By 3 p.m., the house didn't smell like her anymore. It smelled like fresh wood polish. Like peace. I called my bank next. Spoke to a manager named Terry who remembered Caroline and me from when we refinanced. I need to separate our joint accounts. I told her. Calm. Precise. It took 40 minutes. Savings gone. College fund moved. Direct deposit rerouted. Credit cards frozen. By 4 p.m., Caroline's access to the life I built was over. At 5:45 p.m., she called. The first ring, I ignored. The second, I watched the screen light up with her name. By the third, I knew she'd figured it out. The text came next. Caroline, Nathan, my car got declined. What's going on? Caroline, are we having issues with the bank? Caroline, Nathan, this isn't funny. Please call me. I didn't. Because some silences say more than shouting ever could. 6:20 p.m. Her car pulled into the driveway. I was already on the couch with Jason, watching Guardians of the Galaxy. He was giggling at the raccoon. I was waiting for the explosion. When Caroline stepped onto the porch, she saw the bags first, and froze. Then came the knock. Not gentle, not frantic, just confused, like she couldn't process it. I opened the door, calm as the sky before a storm. Nathan, what is this? Your things, I said. What's going on? You wanted freedom, I said. You have it. That's what this is. She stepped forward. I didn't move. She reached in her purse, pulled out her keys, and tried the lock. It didn't turn. Nathan, did you change the locks? Yes. Why? Because you slept with Brandon in room 611 at the Omni. She went pale. Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. You followed me. I hired a PI. His name's Richard. He sent me photos, receipts, timelines, the works. Tears gathered at the corners of her eyes. Nathan, I can explain. No, you can't. But thank you for confirming it. I turned to go inside. Please. It was one mistake. No, I said, pausing. Mistakes are things you regret. You planned this. I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't think of me at all. I stepped inside, closed the door, turned the lock, and listened to her cries from the porch as if they belonged to someone I'd never known. Jason looked up from the movie. Is Mom leaving? I sat beside him and put my arm around his shoulder. For a little while, I said, but we'll be okay. And for the first time in weeks, I meant it. The sound of silence has different meanings. In marriage, it can mean comfort, or it can mean absence. But that evening, after I changed the locks, after I shut the door in her face, the silence in our home felt like something earned. Not the kind of peace you stumble upon, but the kind you fight for, the kind you bleed for. Jason and I ordered Chinese that night. Sweet and sour chicken for him. Kung Pao for me. We sat on the couch. His laughter returned, his spirit already bouncing back from the tension he never fully understood. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be smooth for him, but it would be honest, and that mattered more than the illusion of a family. He asked me again if his mom would be back. I told him the truth. She'll always be your mom, but this won't be her home anymore. He nodded, his face serious like a man twice his age. I'm glad you're not pretending everything's okay, he said. I nearly broke, because he understood. At 12 years old, he understood what some people never do. Pretending is poison. Truth, even when it hurts, heals. Caroline's father called that night. I was waiting for it. Robert Grayson, semi-retired accountant, golf every Sunday, firm handshake, rigid principles, unless it involved his daughter. What the hell are you thinking, Nathan? You humiliated her. I let him rant. I listened. Then I said, she humiliated herself. I just removed the curtain. She's crying in our guest room. She should have cried before room 611. She made a mistake. She made a plan and executed it. That's not a mistake. That's a decision. You're punishing her too harshly. I'm giving her the life she wanted. Isn't that what freedom means? He hung up. Monday, I met with my attorney. Her name was Alicia Barron. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, sharper mind. She'd seen it all. After reviewing the PI's report, she looked up and said, "You want primary custody? You'll get it. You want to keep the house? Easy. Want her to pay alimony? Not likely. But we can make her forfeit claims to yours. What about the affair?" I asked. In this state, infidelity matters. And she gave us more than we need. It was surreal. Watching her heartbreak translated into legal leverage. Seeing photos of your wife with another man become strategy. But I didn't flinch. Because I wasn't trying to destroy her. I was simply done protecting her. By Wednesday, Caroline had tried every emotional play in the book. First, she texted. Then she cried. Then she begged. Then came the guilt. What about Jason? You're tearing us apart. We had 17 good years. No, Caroline. We had 11 good years. The last 6 were quiet compromise. And the final one? You set it on fire. On Thursday, she tried showing up. I didn't open the door. She sat on the porch for 10 minutes, hands in her lap, a plastic smile stretched across her face when Jason arrived home from school. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, reaching out. He hugged her, but his eyes flicked to me. He didn't want to go with her, and I didn't force him. "Maybe next time, Mom," he said, walking past her and into the house. She stood there stunned. Friday, her lawyer called mine. By Monday, the official paperwork was filed. Primary custody to me. Visitation every other weekend her. She kept her car and a few savings. I kept everything else, including the truth. 2 weeks later, she moved in with her sister. A 2-bedroom apartment on the east side of Raleigh. She tried to decorate it like our old home. Same wall colors, same framed pictures of Jason. But truth hangs differently in a place built on lies. She called often. Too often. I miss him. I miss us. Can't we at least talk like friends? No, Caroline. Because friends don't ask for a night with someone else and lie about it. Friends don't come home smelling like another man and smile like everything's fine. I didn't hate her, but I couldn't trust her. And what's a relationship without trust? Just a contract between strangers. And ours had been broken. Jason adjusted faster than I expected. He helped paint his new room. Chose the blue himself. Steel Thunder, he called it. He made friends in the new neighborhood. Started waking up happier. Sleeping better. He no longer had to listen to quiet arguments. No longer had to tiptoe around tension. He was free too. And that was worth every second of pain. One night, months later, Caroline called while Jason was asleep. "I know you'll never forgive me," she said, "but I hope you'll remember the good years. The family we were." "I remember all of it," I said, "but memories aren't enough to rebuild trust." "I never meant to fall for Brandon," she whispered. "I didn't fall for Brandon either," I said. She paused. "What do you mean?" "I fell for peace. And I wasn't giving it up again." For months after the locks changed, after her lies were exposed, after the house quieted, Caroline stood on my porch again. It was Jason's birthday. 13 years old. A teenager now. And she came with a gift in her hands. Wrapped in silver, tied in ribbon, her lipstick too dark for the daytime, and her perfume too familiar to be welcome. She knocked like she used to, 3 soft taps followed by hesitation. I dried my hands on a towel and opened the door. We locked eyes. She was smaller somehow, not in size, but in presence. Like the weight of her choices had folded her in. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi," I answered. "Is Jason here?" "I brought something for him." I leaned against the frame. "He's at a sleepover. You missed him." "Oh," she looked down at the box. "I should have called." "Yeah," I said. "Probably." She lingered, waiting, hoping I'd invite her in, but I didn't move. The house behind me was warm, honest, clean of betrayal. Her stepping in would drag the past across the threshold like dirt on a white carpet. "Can I come in for just a minute?" she asked, voice trembling. "I think it's better if we talk out here." She blinked, twice, tightened her grip on a gift. The silence stretched long between us, filled only by the sound of kids biking down the street and a dog barking 3 houses down. "You look good," she said. "The house looks peaceful." "It is," I replied. "We are." "I think about us," she murmured, "about what we had." I studied her for a moment. "What we had," I said, "was me trying to be enough for someone who was always waiting for something more." "That's not fair," she whispered. "No," I said calmly, It's not. But neither was asking me to approve your betrayal like it was a grocery list. Tears filled her eyes. I was lost, Nathan. I didn't feel like me anymore. I wasn't trying to hurt you. But you did. Over and over again. You hurt me by asking for the pass. Then by taking it. Then by lying about it. And worst of all, you came back like nothing happened. You smiled at our son. You slept in my bed. Her tears spilled. I miss you, she whispered. I looked at her with nothing left to burn. No, Caroline. You miss the idea of me. You miss the security. The routine. The man who paid the bills and made breakfast. But you didn't love me. If you had, you wouldn't have gone looking for someone else to make you feel alive. She shook her head. I made a mistake. No, I said sharply. You made a choice. Mistakes are accidental. Choices are intentional. She was crying now. The kind of crying that used to break me. But I've been broken already. And now I was healed. You know the worst part? I asked. She looked up. You didn't just cheat on me. You cheated on us. You stole time from Jason. You stole faith from a man who trusted you since high school. And you threw away a life we built for a weekend with a stranger. I thought it would be harmless, she choked. And it cost you everything. I finished. She reached out as if to touch my arm. I stepped back. Please, Nathan. One more chance. I'll do anything. Therapy, accountability. I'll prove it to you. No, I said, voice ironclad. I won't raise my son in a house where his father accepts betrayal like it's normal. A long silence. And then, the softest, weakest whisper I'd ever heard from her. You really won't forgive me? I did, I said. But forgiveness doesn't mean reopening the door you slammed shut. She nodded slowly, then handed me the gift. Give this to him. Of course. She stepped off the porch. Her heels echoed against the concrete like punctuation. I watched her walk away. Not the woman I loved, but the stranger she chose to become. She drove off without looking back, and I didn't follow. Inside, I placed the gift on the counter. It was a drone. Jason had mentioned it a few times. I didn't open it. Didn't throw it away either. That wasn't my call. When Jason came home, I handed it to him. Your mom dropped this off. He stared at the silver wrapping, then at me. Do I have to call her? No. I said gently. Only if you want to. He nodded, set the box on the table, then pulled out a comic book and laid on the couch. A minute passed. Then he said, I like it better here. I sat beside him. Me too. The next few weeks felt like new skin. The kind that forms after the wound stops bleeding. I worked more jobs. Picked Jason up from school. Watched Little League. Cooked meals. Built shelves. I slept deeper. Smiled more. And I stopped replaying the scenes I couldn't change. One night, I stood outside watching the stars. I thought about everything she took. Then I thought about what she gave me in return. Peace. Clarity. And the unwavering knowledge that I was enough. 6 months passed. No door slams. No lies. No eggshells. Just Saturday pancakes, Sunday baseball, and weeknights filled with calm dinners and comic book talks. Caroline still called sometimes. Mostly to check on Jason. But I knew what she was really doing. Pressing her face against a glass window she shattered, hoping to be let back in. Each call ended the same. Tears. Reminders. Regret. But regret is a shadow. It clings, but it never rebuilds what sunlight once touched. I sold the old house eventually. Too many echoes in the walls. Too many memories clinging to the floorboards like dust you can't sweep out. Jason and I moved into a cozier place. A craftsman home with a red porch swing and a yard just big enough for a golden retriever, if we ever decided to get one. His room was painted in galaxy blue. Mine stayed white. Clean. Uncomplicated. Like the new life we built. Just him and me. He blossomed. Better grades. More laughter. He started waking me up with pancakes every other Saturday. Your turn, Dad. He grinned. I used to think I needed a partner to make our house feel full. But all I needed was peace. And him. One Friday night, after dinner and a rented movie, he turned to me and asked, Are you ever going to date again? I laughed. Why? You trying to get rid of me? He grinned. No. Just wondering. I looked at him carefully. I think I needed to remember who I was alone before I ever invite someone into that again. He nodded. That's fair. It was more than fair. It was the first real answer I'd spoken aloud in years. At one of Jason's baseball games, I met Lauren. She was divorced too. Her son, Drew, played on Jason's team. She laughed easily, didn't ask invasive questions, and drank her coffee black like me. Over weeks, we talked more. On the bleachers. In the parking lot. At coffee shops while the boys were at practice. She never asked about Caroline. And maybe that's why I told her anyway. Not all of it. Just enough. She listened. Didn't pity. Didn't judge. She just said, you seem like a man who came back stronger. That stuck with me. Because for the first time in years, I believed it. Caroline showed up again on a cold February evening. Unannounced. Again. She looked different. Not worse. Just faded. Can we talk? She asked, standing on my porch. I nodded, stepped outside. She didn't ask to come in this time. I saw you at the game, she said. With Lauren. Yeah. She seems nice. She is. A pause. You're seeing someone? I didn't answer, because it wasn't her right to ask anymore. You look happier, she said. I stayed quiet. Are you? She asked finally. I turned to her. I'm at peace, I said. That's not the same as happy. It's better. She started crying. The same tired tears. Like reruns of a show that used to hurt to watch, but now just felt predictable. I messed everything up, she whispered. Yes, I said. Would you ever take me back? No. She nodded. She didn't argue this time. Do you hate me? She asked. No. Then why can't we try again? I looked her dead in the eyes. Because I spent 17 years being your anchor while you search for waves. And I'm done being dragged under. Tears streamed freely now. I didn't know how much I was breaking until it was too late. I did, I said. I watched it happen. You just didn't notice because you thought I'd never leave. She reached in her coat, pulled out a small envelope. I wrote this. For Jason. You don't have to read it, but please give it to him. I took it, then stepped back, and gently closed the door. That night, Jason opened the letter in silence. He read it twice, then set it on the table. I'm glad she's still trying, he said quietly. But I'm glad I live here. I hugged him, longer than usual, because I knew one day he'd grow up and face his own heartbreak. And I hoped he'd remember how healing looked, how strong men didn't break others, they rebuilt themselves. 3 weeks later, I took Lauren out for dinner. No expectations, no performances, just two people healing forward. She laughed at my dad jokes. I asked about her favorite books. When she reached the check, I smiled. I got this one, I said. She grinned. You sure? I know what I'm investing in. Sometimes I lie awake and think about the life I used to have. The dreams we built. The promises made under white lights and first dances. The baby showers. The family portraits. The years I tried to be the version of me she wanted. And then I think about this life. The peace. The trust between a father and son. The simplicity of mornings without eggshells. The beauty of rebuilding without resentment. The strength of knowing I was enough all along. And I smile. Because Caroline left to find herself in someone else's arms. But I found myself. Right where she left me. Only this time, I never let myself go again.